Hare Krishna, my name is Dira Lalita Dasi, and today we are examining the controversial topic of women in Krishna consciousness. So, it is not easy for a woman in Krishna consciousness pursuing pure devotional service amidst her God brothers who might extinguish her enthusiasm to do service or preach and share her realizations. My god sister Vishaka Devidasi produced a nice book on the subject called What Are Women to Do? I recommend you try to read it. In my YouTube talks, I would like to address this subject for the benefit of all sincere lady practitioners. In a letter, Srila Prabhupada writes in 1972, our leaders shall be careful not to kill the spirit of enthusiastic service, which is individual and spontaneous and voluntary. They should try always to generate some atmosphere of fresh challenge to the devotees so that they will agree enthusiastically to rise and meet it. That is the art of management, to draw out spontaneous, loving spirit of sacrificing some energy for Krishna. First of all, I would insist that before doing anything else, one must examine oneself sincerely and ask such questions as, am I ready to help myself and others? Do I have the qualifications and spirit of sacrifice for such a task? Am I doing this for my own name and fame or in a service mentality? I would repeat what Sridhar Maharaj has spoken often. Physician, heal thyself. Before you can heal others, you must heal yourself. If you are full of defects and bad habits, you won't be able to help others. Therefore, practice what you speak. In our movement, Lord Chaitanya's mission, we are not exempt from the universal law. A woman needs to be more qualified than a man to occupy the same post. She has to prove herself in order to be taken seriously. By example, women have rarely taken a managerial position in an ashram or temple. However, Lord Chaitanya's movement is about spreading love of Krishna, not about position or society consciousness. So one must not be attached to such trivial things. Our false ego, either male or female, always wants to be selfishly recognized. Krishna consciousness is not about our personal goals. It is about pleasing Krishna. Once Krishna is satisfied, everyone involved will be satisfied. We need to forget ourselves and follow in the footsteps of the gopis, who were selfless in the service of the Lord. They did not have a tinge of selfishness in them. They completely surrendered to Krishna, body and mind, not for themselves, but for his own pleasure. And by doing this, they benefited also 100%. On the subject of ladies in Krishna consciousness, Srila Maharaj questions our illusions. And he says, who is a woman here may not be a woman there, in that higher realm. Who is a man here may not be a man there. The body is only a dress. The soul has its mental dress. And according to that, we wear this physical dress, the flesh dress. Sexual identity means the flesh and the mind. In the soul, who will represent which type of sexual identity there is uncertain at present here in this plane. But women there in the higher realm have a higher prospect, a brighter prospect in the spiritual world. End of quote. This material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. What is there in the higher realm is found here also. But because it is a reflection, the highest rasa there is reflected at its lowest here. Women in this material realm are often viewed as praise by men, especially young women. Men's tendency is to view women as object of enjoyment, and woman's nature is also playing a part in this drama of life. By nature, ladies like to be taken care of. It is an unborn desire, an inborn desire, and that tendency might lead her to become exploited by men. She wants to attract, he wants to enjoy and take advantage. For example, nowadays, there is no education for women explaining what is chastity. Chastity is very much misunderstood by the modern world. It is a necessary sacrifice for ladies. Once a woman loses her chastity, she is no better than her sex-monger brothers. About what is chastity, people might think of horrible contraptions, such as the Middle-Age belt of chastity. But this is not what we're talking about when we encourage women to be chaste. A woman's chastity and shyness are her strengths. In the Mahabharata, the great literature written by Srila Vyasadeva, there are descriptions of several chaste ladies. And the most striking example is the story of Gandhari, the wife of Dhritarashtra, the king of the cows. Her husband Dhritarashtra was born blind. When she married him, she didn't want to be superior to him by having sight. So she wore a cover over her eyes all the rest of her life. By this sacrifice, she acquired great mystic powers. So when her son was going to war, she was able to make his body as hard as iron, just by removing her eye covering and glancing over him. This story illustrates the power of a woman's chastity. How can an ordinary materialist understand this? Ordinary young and beautiful women have lost all connection with this. Nobody gets married anymore, and ladies desire equal rights with men. That new freedom just opened the door for men to exploit women with impunity. But we devotees of Krishna, we know better. We do not want to fall into this difficulty. Srila Sridhar Maharaj adds, in the spiritual realm, those souls that are female who have attained that formation of the soul's realization hold a better and higher position than men. Here in the plane of exploitation, men hold a better position. But there, in the plane of submission and surrender, the female form of mind is more rewarding than the male's form of mind. The negative aspect of submission is more valuable in connection with Krishna. The supreme positive is Krishna himself, and his potency is of a negative nature. We belong to the negative potency group, not the master group. The Lord himself is the possessor of the potency. End of quote. So, what Srila Sridhar Maharaj says is that there is only one Purusha, and all the other souls are Prakriti. Only one master who is the supreme male, and everyone else is subordinate and female by nature. So we are confused on our identity. Men and women of this world are not the real men and women. Therefore, there must be difficulties. One who thinks himself a man and entitled to block his god sister's devotional service by not allowing certain activities, such as deity worship, for example, is wrong. And one who thinks she is a woman and therefore should find a mate at any cost will just be a botheration and will disturb an ashram's peace. The ladies of this world should appreciate very much that our brothers are including her in their midst. It brings a dangerous element of distraction for the sadhakas. She should demonstrate her sincerity by being an asset, not a burden. A woman has so many innate talents. She can be of great assistance in the spreading of Lord Chaitanya's movement. If she uses her body to distract the male devotees, she is not doing herself a favor. So I would advise young ladies to become aware of this, even if they are innocent, even if they innocently and unconsciously flaunt their feminine beauty. They should become more aware of what they are doing. Srila Prabhupada shares further thoughts on the subject. He says, one should also refrain from sinful activities, illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. But out of these 4 items, illicit sex is very sinful. Every person must get married. Every woman especially must get married. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 7:128 purport. Evidently, it doesn't mean this is a goal of life for a woman to get married. She should not come to Krishna consciousness to find a husband. Krishna will provide all necessities for our devotional service. When we are ready, he sends a guru. When he thinks it will help our service, he might send a husband. No need to go hunting. And all women need to understand our higher purpose in devotional service. She will become efficient and useful when she makes significant spiritual progress. In Srila Prabhupada's correspondence in 1969, with Professor J.F. Stahl of the University of California, Srila Prabhupada claimed that all his disciples who were strictly following the intense program of Krishna consciousness were in fact Sudurlabha Mahatmas, who were seeing Vasudevo Sarvam. In other words, if one is constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness with an intense desire to please the Lord and one day gain his association, it is to be understood that in one's life there is nothing but Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has warned us, however, that a mere theoretical or academic understanding that Krishna is everything does not qualify one as a first-class devotee. And what is a qualification? Srila Prabhupada says one must actually have developed love for Krishna. That's a qualification. Therefore, it can be practically understood that anyone who enthusiastically adopts the Krishna conscious program and eagerly participates in the preaching activities is acting on the platform of Madhyam Adhikari devotee. Obviously, men and women are included in this analysis. Srila Prabhupada had many female disciples. He didn't talk just about the men. The Krishna conscious movement is authorized. He adds, the members of this Hare Krishna movement, both men and women, single and married, live in strict adherence in Vedic and Vaishnav principles in regards to religious practice, chastity vows, diet, etc. Srila Prabhupada Room Conversation in Bombay, 1976. Srila Prabhupada explained further for the benefit of the male section of his disciples. There is no fault in the thing as it is, namely woman and money, but it becomes faulty by improper use. The improper use is to accept them for sense gratification. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, we can remain very strong from this by taking firm shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna, by chanting his holy name incessantly, and praying always for being engaged in his service. In this way, he will protect us from our weakness. End of quote. Male practitioners may not be very advanced themselves and may see their own lust as someone else's fault. In other words, they may think that by eliminating woman, they will become free of it. But since it is a defect within, it won't be resolved by lashing at the object of their contemplation. So the two sides have to be properly understood. There is no fault in including women in Krishna consciousness, but the mixing of men and women is always dangerous. If both parties are Krishna conscious, then there will be no trouble. Only when we forget why we have joined the ashram or temple do we get in trouble. For an advanced man or woman, there will be no problem, but for neophytes, problems might proliferate. And what is the solution? If there are no advanced devotees who can manage things with equanimity and educate men and women in the proper conduct, then all attempts to make progress in spiritual life or attempts to spread the movement will be thwarted. So there is no solution for appeasing frustrated devotees if they do not work under a bona fide spiritual master. It is up to the more mature devotees to come to a sane solution. This world is full of difficulties. If one can dedicate his or her life to the service of the Lord, then Krishna gives the intelligence for them to come to him. There is not a one-time solution for women in Krishna consciousness. A woman needs to learn to navigate the obstacles and make her voice heard in a palatable way. Women celibate are a new breed in our movement. Women in general are not so seriously intense in their commitment in the bhakti path, usually. Those who are very serious should be recognized by advanced devotees, and they can help their younger sisters to make progress. It is an ongoing process. It will take time to create centers in which women can practice happily. Srila Prabhupada explains on the subject, women should be always protected. That is, protection does not mean negligence. No, protection means to give him or her all facilities. That is protection. That's from a lecture of Srimad Bhagavatam 3:28-18 in 1975. We need to understand that it will take to give all facilities for both men and women to work together in Krishna consciousness. Both sides need protection. Both sides need to be accommodated. Most often women are not given the same facilities than the men. It might be the nature of things for now until a solution is found. There are more male devotees in general who take to the path seriously. Therefore, ladies are a rare breed. In this connection, I would recommend that ladies join the movement with their eyes opened. Don't expect what you see in movies. Don't expect equality of rights. Expect to have to earn those rights painfully. Expect mostly to be developing love for Krishna, and that might mean many sacrifices on the way, unrecognized sacrifices. By demanding equality, you do not help yourselves or others. There are differences because we are different. Let those differences become your strengths. Most of us do not really want what men have. We shrink from managerial positions because it is not in our nature to take on such a burden. Let us be ourselves and let us pause for a moment and be simple and pure. Our assets are subtle. We can influence and inspire our brothers positively. That is our strength, our power. For us, they can become inspired to become better. We can have a beautiful influence in the movement. Let us use our femininity for Krishna's pleasure and not to attract our brothers to our bodies. Let us acquire all the beautiful qualities of those great ladies, such as Queen Kunti, Vishnupriya, the wife of Lord Chaitanya, Janavamata, the wife of Lord Nityananda, and many more like them. There is no real solution for women to be treated more fairly by our God brothers, unless a male devotee is very advanced. He will most likely see all women as inferior. Unless a male devotee is very advanced, he will most likely see all women as inferior. And if a woman is burdened with a man's job, such as giving daily classes, taking disciples, or instructing other members in Krishna consciousness, she can do it. But unless she's very advanced, she will either abuse her role or crumple under the weight. When a society is sickly from the top, there is a need to start fresh. We are looking for solutions within a diseased society. If the leaders are perverted, then the followers will never be able to make real advancement. We may need to address such a large problem first, before we can resolve the way women might be treated in such a situation. Vaishnavis, you are not ordinary. Let us realize that the solution is not ordinary either. Thank you very much. So ask questions if you like, or suggest a development of this topic if you have any ideas on it. And please don't forget to like and subscribe if you appreciate this talk. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.